Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Friday's webinar from Anicca Digital. It's myself, Anne Stanley, today, and I'm very pleased to welcome Gurpreet Bassi. Gurpreet, many of you will recognise. Gurpreet's been with Anicca for over 11 years. She's, I can't say you're the oldest member of staff, you're the longest serving member of staff. She gets very upset when I say this. While we're waiting for a few more people to arrive, let's do some polls. And that will give us an idea of everybody that's in the room. So first of all, the first poll is, whether you're using Google and Bing ads, to be honest. So let's start polling there. Now, I'm going to read out the polls because by reading out the poll, what will happen is it will be recorded in the video, which we'll send round later on. In the meantime, Gurpreet, could you go to handouts and load the handouts so that people could you load your the PDF into the handouts? Yep. And then everybody will be able to go and get the handouts as well. So first of all, do you have any Google or Bing Microsoft Ads accounts to actively optimize? So the first answer is no, I'm not currently running any Google or Bing ads. No, someone else runs them for me. You can answer more than one, by the way. Yes, I need to optimize my Google Ads accounts, text ads. Yes, I need to optimize other parts of my Google account, so that's shopping, display, YouTube, etc. And yes, I need to optimize my Bing Microsoft accounts. So at the moment, it's a pretty equal race between no, I'm not currently running ads, and yes, I need to optimize my Google Ads accounts. Then that's about 35% each. And then the rest, it's really around the extra people that have got other types of accounts. So these are people with Google Shopping, Display, etc., YouTube. And then there's a few other people that have got Microsoft. So about a third of people aren't currently running accounts, which is useful to know. So Gurpreet, I'll be very gentle with you when we go through the process. And then my next question is going to be about what level do you consider yourself at the moment? So this is, what is your current level of knowledge of paid search optimization? So none for the people that haven't done it before, basic, intermediate and advanced. So nice and easy to do that one. You should be able to see that in the open polls. Yeah, a few of you have found it now. So the majority of you have coming out as a basic. In fact, are saying that you're basic. So it looks like we're going to end up with about 80% basic, 20% intermediate, and we've got one advanced. I think I know who that is. There's one of the team actually on the call. So I suspect that's one of the existing members of the Anicca team. And then there's one person who's got no knowledge at all. So I think that's a really good start. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Gurpreet. If you ask any questions, I'm quite happy to answer them either in the chat or in the Q&A section. If there's anything that I think that we can discuss at the end, then we'll talk about that at the end. So let's pass over to Gurpreet. Welcome, Gurpreet.
Hi everybody, thank you for attending. So as Anne mentioned, this webinar will be focused around paid search optimization and just some general techniques that you should be looking at. Based on the polls, I can see that quite a lot of you are maybe at the start of the journey, so I will try and explain things where I can. Like Anne said, we do have the Q&A at the end, so any questions, pop them in, and then I'm happy to go back over, obviously given time, I'll go back over anything that you may want more information on, or if we can't do it in the time slot that we've got, then we're very flexible in getting back to you. Okay, so a bit about myself. I always hate these type of slides because I never really know what to say. So of course I'm going to put my kids in there. So I've got my 2 twin girls and another younger little girl that I've got. This picture was actually taken a year ago at Halloween. I don't just dress them like that. This was taken at Halloween. So they are slightly bigger than this now. But during my time at Anicca, I have sort of been in and out on maternity leave. But I'm done now. We've also got the Google Ads symbol because that is where I would say my expertise is. It's where I started as soon as I graduated. I went straight into Google, and then everything came after that, so being another paid media activity as well. But if you were to ask me what my speciality was, I would say it was Google Ads. We've got the glasses cheersing there because when possible I do like to socialize with my friends and family. This year it has been much more difficult, but when I can, that's one of the things I love to do, and obviously with everything that's going on at the minute, it is at a safe distance. And also Netflix, I've become a big fan, and I'll admit I am a binge watcher. So, you know, if you've got any recommendations, put them in the chat as well. We're not overly formal, so yeah, any recommendations, pop them in the chat, I can look at them. Okay, and just an example, if you're a regular to this webinar, you've probably seen these, but just an example of the type of brands that we work with. We've got a mixture, B2B, B2C, e-commerce, lead generation. It's from working on all these different types of accounts that we've tried different optimization techniques. We've seen what works, we've seen what haven't. And that's really where this webinar has come from in terms of the basics that most accounts, no matter what sort of sector you're in, it's the basic techniques that you would want to follow. Okay, so what we're actually going to cover within this webinar, so what optimization actually means. So when you hear the term being shouted around or any questions around it, sometimes it is, well, what is actual optimization? What does it involve? So we're going to cover what it actually means and refers to. We've got a few notes on things that are good for you to know. So when you're starting out with optimization, sometimes it can be overwhelming and you don't really know where to start. So we've just got a few good to know points that can help out. And then we'll jump straight into actual techniques and strategies that you should be looking at. Okay, so what actually is optimization? So when we talk about optimizing a paid search account, it's about refining, testing, and experimenting with the account. So when it comes to optimization, it's something within an account that you want to be doing all the time. So when should you be carrying out the optimization? All the time, basically. When an account first goes live, you will probably find that you are doing a lot more of it, purely because everything is new. You've got your data coming through, you can conduct research, you've got your general knowledge of the market as well. So at the beginning of the account, it probably is a lot more heavy in terms of optimization, but it is something that is never ending. So it can be focused a lot on data. So a lot of the decisions that you made, because they are focused on data, you want to make sure that you have enough data as well. So I guess what I'm really trying to get across here is that it's never ending. Don't just think we'll do it at the beginning of a campaign, then we can put it down and it will run itself. It wouldn't work like that. You want to make sure that you do keep testing and optimizing. And why is it important? Because ultimately it improves performance. So when you first set up a campaign, or if you take over a campaign, you may think, I've got everything, it's brilliant. But actually, if you can keep testing, then you can help improve your performance. Even slight changes can make a big difference. And also increases your competitiveness. So you can stay in touch with what your competitors are doing, you can improve on what your competitors are doing. And again, it's all part of that optimization process. So just a few notes on what's good to know. So when you first start, so I'm going to do this as if you've never done optimization before, based on the poll. So when you first start out optimizing and you're looking at your data, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming and you think, well, how do I know if this is good or bad? Is it right or wrong? So what we've got here are just a few general, I would say, rule of thumbs that you can use when you are first starting out. So click-through rate. So what a click-through rate is, it's the percentage of users who have actually clicked on your ad after seeing the ad. So when an impression, we call it, is served. So the higher the percentage, the higher the click-through rate, the better. But again, when you're looking at the data for the first time, you will probably ask yourself, well, what is a good click-through rate? And we would start out with, you would want at least a 1% click-through rate. So the way that you can think of that is if you've had 100 impressions, so 100 times your ad has been shown to a user, you would want at least one of those to click through. Now, certain industries and accounts, 1% might actually not be great, and we do understand that. But it's a good place to start out in terms of when you need to refine, okay, which keywords or ad copy do I need to focus on? Start at anything below 1% you want to start working on. You've then got something called quality score. So this is Google's measure of relevancy of an account and of keywords. And it's really important because it affects the delivery of your ads and also how much you're actually going to pay. So again, what is a good quality score? So it ranges from 1 being the lowest to 10 being the highest. You would want to focus on anything that we would say that is below 6. Obviously 5 isn't terrible, but there is room for improvement. And given time, if you want to as well, focus on any that are 7 and 8 and try and get them to a 10. But if you really need to focus your efforts somewhere, we would say anything that is below 6. And then you need to look at your conversion rates. So your conversion rate is the percentage of users who have converted after clicking on your ad. And we use the same rule that we would for click-through rate. So you want at least, and I keep saying at least because I'm not saying that it's your target, but you want at least 1% or higher when it comes to conversion rate. So it would be the same scenario. If you had 100 clicks, you would want at least one of those to convert. A good way to also check is if you have the data available in Google Analytics or via any other means, check, well, what is my website converting at the minute? And say if it's coming in at 3% via other channels, then that can be a good baseline for you. Now, when it comes to bidding, there's no set way to know before you start exactly what bid you need. You can use the Google Keyword Planner and it will give you advice. However, it's not really until an account goes live and it has its quality score and it has its bidding that you have put in that you will really know whether or not your bidding is right or not. So once it goes live, you can absolutely test different bids and even different bidding techniques as well. So you're not actually expected to know what that is before the account goes live. You may have a baseline that you start from, but when it comes to bidding, it really is a case of looking at the data and seeing where you can shift things around from there. Cost per acquisition, so that is also the same as your cost per conversion. So this will be impacted by the cost per click that you're paying and obviously your conversion rate. So I can't sit here and say to you, okay, this is a good cost per conversion or CPA, because it is really dependent and it is unique for your business. So when it comes to optimization, it's probably a really good thing for you to go away and you to work out or ask the powers that may be, what is a good cost per conversion or a good acquisition for this account. And then at least you know what you're working to. So anything that is coming in above that, you know that you need to work on that. Anything that is way below is great, or it may be that there's room to push it so you can get more from it. You've then got your return on ad spend, so that's your ROAS. And again, it is impacted obviously by the cost of the account, and it's impacted by the revenue that is then brought back into the account. So if you have low value products, you may find that sometimes you're spending more than you're actually bringing back into the account. So then that's something that you need to address. Typically, we would love a 5-to-1 return. But like I said,
just explain what return on ad spend means, Gurpreet.
Yeah,
because I think it's a term that we use all the time, but others might not necessarily know what it means. Yeah,
so return on ad spend is based on how much money you have spent on your ads, based on how much revenue has then been generated. So you may spend, I'm just getting numbers out of the air here with easy maths. So you might have spent £100 on clicks, and you may have then sold a one-off product for £20. So your return on ad spend will actually be quite low. Because what you've done is you've actually spent more than you have then returned within your revenue. And when we say something like 5-to-1 return, we would say for every £1 that you've spent, you would want to get £5 back. There are other things, sort of a caveat outside of this to think about when it comes to return on ad spend. Does your product or the service that you're selling have a lifetime value? In which case you might be okay with it having a lower return on ad spend at that point, because you know actually these users or these customers are going to keep coming back. So there are a few things that you need to consider when it comes to return on ad spend. However, you do need to keep it in mind. We then move on to traffic and cost. So always keep an eye on this. So you want to keep an eye on any sudden or expected changes in traffic or the cost. And usually, if you haven't made too many changes, it can be an indication of changes within your market. So the competitiveness, maybe another competitor has come in. It could be general market. So, you know, there could be an increase or decrease in the demand, which will also have a direct impact on your results and the return that you may generate. So one thing that is good to know is sometimes the data that you're seeing may not be a direct action of something you have changed or you have done within the account. It may be something external as well. So you just need to really keep that in mind as well when viewing your data. Okay, so let's jump into some actual optimization techniques and what you should be looking into. Okay, so the first thing that you'll probably hear in any of these types of webinars is you will want to check your search terms. And I just want to take a minute to explain what the difference is. So you have keywords, and these are the keywords that you have within your account that you have chosen to bid on. Now, there are many different match types that you can choose to have these keywords on. So Google can expand on these keywords slightly. So when a user searches on Google, they may say, oh, actually, you've got this keyword. It's similar to this keyword. So actually, I'm going to trigger your ad. And that could be a whole nother webinar that we could go into around the different match types. But ultimately, what search terms do is they show you what a user actually typed into Google that triggered your ad to show. And this is really important because by viewing this report, it can really help you reduce and cut out your irrelevant clicks, but also help you find new keywords. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's a crazy amount of keywords are searched for the very first time on Google each day. Google has never seen those key phrases before. So it's really good to keep an eye on those search terms so you can see the type of searches that users are actually using to find your business. So like I mentioned, from this report, you can also add negatives. So what you will find in search term reports, and usually more towards the beginning of the process, is that it may have matched to keywords that aren't relevant to what you do. So if you're offering a service, you might find that jobs or careers or something along those lines are triggering your ads to show, but you can add these as negative keywords to ensure that you don't be found for those keywords in the future and waste your money. And also, like I said, use it to add in good performing keywords, and also keywords that you don't have in the account that you actually think will be a good idea. One thing I do want to mention, which is fairly new, if you haven't really done optimization before, it probably won't affect you because you don't know the difference. But Google has recently announced that they are actually going to cut back on the amount of search terms that they are providing back to you. So they have said that they'll only show search terms that have had a significant number of users. So what they're saying there is they never did show every single search term, but they did show at least search terms that had just a few impressions. You would still get that data. What we're going to see now is that will be stripped back, and you'll probably only see search terms where you've got a high number of impressions or a high number of clicks. For those of us who have used the search terms in the past, it is a big blow because sometimes you may get negative keywords that have only had a couple of impressions or clicks, but you do want that information so you can add it to your account. So just be mindful of that. You will not get shown every single search term that a user has searched within Google. However, you will still get the ones that have hopefully driven a lot of your clicks and your impressions. Okay, we've then got negatives, which I just touched on. So negative keywords are needed no matter what your match type that you're using, especially with exact match keywords as well, because you can get close variants on those as well. And when it comes to negative keywords, you don't just want to wait until you see them in your search term report. When you first set out creating an account or before you go live, just have a sanity check for yourself and think, okay, what do I not want to be found for? If you're a quality product, you want to make sure that you don't show against anything that's cheap or the lower end. You know, if you run courses that are paid for, you may want to ensure that you're not appearing for free. So you may want to add free as a negative. So have a sense check at the beginning to try and find any negative keywords that can be useful for you. And having negative keywords from the offset can improve your click-through rate and your ad relevance, which is all good for your quality score, which we will touch on later. And what's really good within the account is you can create negative keyword lists. So what you can do is you can group your keywords, your negative keywords, together based on a theme. So you could have a list that is focused around jobs and careers. You could have another negative keyword list that is focused more around maybe adult keywords or things like that. It just makes it easier to apply groups of negative keywords to different campaigns. And also when you introduce new campaigns throughout the account, having these lists set up will make it really easy for you to say, okay, I want this list added as negatives to the account. So it does also help with the general account management. Okay, another really important one that you want to keep an eye out for are keywords and ad copy where you are receiving a high spend. So you're spending a lot of money on those keywords. However, you're not getting many conversions for them. So you've got low conversions. And this is one that you really want to focus on when it comes to obviously ensuring your cost per conversion stays as competitive as it can and your return on ad spend. So what you may find sometimes is there will be a lot of keywords that will receive a lot of clicks, which you think is great. However, when that traffic is coming through, they're not actually going ahead and converting. And those are the ones that you want to focus on and ask yourself why. So why would a user be clicking on my ad or coming in via a certain keyword, but actually not converting? One of the things that you will want to check is which attribution model you're using. And if you're interested in attribution, it's basically where you are telling Google you want conversions to be attributed to. So there's a scenario where a user may search 3 different times on 3 different keywords, and each time they click on an ad and come back to your site. Now, there are different attribution models that say, well, how do you want to count this one conversion? Do you want it to count at the last click? So the last click of a user's journey will get credit for the conversion, maybe the first click, or maybe you want every keyword within that journey, every 3 keywords within that journey, you want them all to receive credit for it. So the first thing you want to do is check the attribution model that you're using and ensure that you are looking at the bigger picture. So you'd want an attribution model that can show, I would say, all points of the journey. Because what may happen is if a keyword's getting lots of clicks and no conversions, but it is part of the attribution journey, if you then just take that keyword out, pause it, lower it, whatever it may be, you may actually be affecting your conversions further down the line. So you do want to check which attribution model you're receiving to ensure that top of the funnel keywords continue to get credit. And also with these keywords, before pausing a keyword, just because it might be spending too much and it has lower conversions, try making adjustments first. So look into why it may be. So it could be, like I mentioned, the attribution side of things. Could it be that your cost per click is too high? Could you perhaps lower your cost per click, still receive a good amount of clicks for that keyword, but actually it's not spending as much? Perhaps look at your search terms. Is it matching to a keyword that you don't want it to be matching to? And you can add negatives in. You can also use filters to find problem keywords within the account. Sorry, so when you are looking, if you have hundreds of keywords, sometimes, again, it can be quite daunting and you think to yourself, well, where do I find these keywords? Within the platform, you can use a filter to help you focus on just those keywords. So you could say any keywords that have a cost higher than X and have conversions lower than X, show me all of these. And then what Google will do is it will show you those keywords within that criteria, so then you know which ones to focus on. Okay, you also want to check the structure of an account, because that really does help and improve when it comes to optimization. So if you take over a pre-existing account, so it might be that the account has already been run before and you are now being asked to look after this account, make sure that it's in a logical structure that makes sense and is structured properly. So, for example, you want to ensure that the campaigns are broken out based on maybe different services, maybe different product categories. And one thing to bear in mind, it is at campaign level where you set your budgets and a lot of the settings. So what you want to do is make sure that the campaign structure reflects this. If you have certain products where you may have a really good margin on and you're happy for more budget to be pumped into them, you would want them to be as a separate campaign to say something with a lower margin where actually you're willing to try it, but you might want to put less budget into it. So just make sure that when you are coming up with your campaign structure that you have thought about that side of things. And also, if you've got your campaign structure set up in a good way, you can then set up your ad group, which is the next level within the campaign. You can have a really tightly themed ad group with keywords and ad copy, and then you can make sure that all that is relevant, you have appropriate landing pages, and that is really good for quality score as well. I am mindful that a lot of you have said that you probably sit in the basic category when it comes to optimization. So if structures of an account is something that you think would be useful, drop it in the comments, and then it's all good feedback for us to know, okay, any areas that we can focus on in future webinars. So then we come on to quality score, which I do keep mentioning. So when it comes to quality score, that is really important within an account. It can really give you that edge over competitors. You could get more clicks than them, but with a good quality score, you could actually be paying less than them, which is great. So you do really want to address poor quality score keywords. So keywords where the quality score is coming out quite low. And the best way to do this is at keyword level, apply the quality score columns. They aren't always there as default. So if you go into an account and you don't see them, it is a case that you just need to apply the columns. And what you can do is have a look how your quality is sitting based on your ad, your click-through rate, and so on. And it will really help you see where you sit in their ranking. So it might say that your click-through rate is above average, but your landing page is below average. So if you know you've got a quality score of 4 on a keyword, you can split it out and try and find out, well, where am I missing? Where am I missing something? And then you know which area you can really focus on. Then you can look at things like your ad. Just have an isolated look at your ad, look at the keywords, have a look at the ad copy that is then showing. Does the ad copy answer what the user is searching for? And then also, does the landing page do the same? Because obviously click-through rate and landing page are very big factors when it comes to quality score. So just have a look, maybe take a step back. Sometimes it may be, if you have someone available, ask a colleague to take a look. Sometimes fresh pair of eyes can help. And just take a step back and think to yourself, does this make sense? Is the journey making sense? Also, think of the call to action that you've got in the ad copy. Is it the same in the ad copy that it says on the landing page? So in the ad copy, if you have said request a quote, make sure that the landing page, it's obvious where a user would go about to request this quote. You shouldn't really expect a user to have to hunt around and try and find where they would request a quote. And also look at your bidding. Are you actually bidding too high? Are you bidding too low to be competitive? We know sometimes it might sound a bit crazy, but bidding too high can also have an impact on your quality score, because Google feels you're trying to be maybe on the very top of the first page, so it is ranking you around other similar competitors. So all of these things, it's part of the optimization process where you can play around, make a few adjustments with the effort to try and get your quality score higher. One thing I would say is, you can make a note of what your quality score is and what changes you've made, keep track of those, and then see, okay, over a certain period of time, is this quality score getting better? You can track it on graphs, you can track it manually, you can track it within the account, you can use annotations, but it's definitely something that you do want to keep an eye on, because sometimes it can be forgotten. Okay, you also want to continue to test your ads. So no matter how great you feel your ads are, even if you're getting a really good click-through rate, ads can become saturated and new competitors can come along that may have a better ad copy than you. So it's always something that you do need to test, and you also always need to refine. So make sure you do consistently test and refresh your ads. We would say ensure at least 3 ads within an ad group, and trial using responsive ads. Now, what responsive ads? They are where you say to Google, okay, I'm going to give you these multiple number of different headlines that you can have. You could give them 7, you could give them quite a few. And then you also do the same with the description. You give them different descriptions that you're happy to be shown within your ad copy. Google will then go away and take all these different headlines and descriptions that you've provided and come up with custom ads. So they might pick headline 1 time and description 3 and put those together and show to a user. They would then mix it up a bit. So they would create lots of different combinations based on the headlines and descriptions that you've provided. What that allows Google to do is use their machine learning to put the good combinations together that they feel will get you a good click-through rate, but it's also another way of you trialing different types of ad copies out, maybe different types of message at scale. So if you have an account and you haven't used or tested responsive ads yet, I would say give that a go. If you're quite new to this and you don't want to put it across your whole account, that's absolutely fine. Maybe you could pick an ad group that has a good amount of clicks, so you're not waiting too long to get data in, and maybe test it within that one ad group just to see how it performs for you. And when it comes to testing your ads, you don't just need to test the text within an ad, also test the landing page. So what you could do is keep the same text that you've got within the ad, but actually have one going to landing page A and one going to landing page B. And that's another ad test that you can do as well. So it doesn't always have to be on the text. Another thing that I would mention is don't test too much at once. So the example that I just gave you, whereby you test different landing pages, don't at the same time test changing the text in the ad as well. Because if this new ad appears to be performing better, you won't know, okay, is it because I changed the text in the ad, or is it because I changed the landing page? So you really want to do one at a time, just so you know what has caused your results to change the way they have. Okay, now budget restraints can be a really big one. So when we're looking at budget constraints, ideally in an ideal world, you wouldn't want any of your campaigns to be constrained by budget. So with that, what we mean is if you have a campaign set to £50 a day, there is a column, there is a status column that will say whether your budget is constrained or not. So it's telling you, okay, you've set it at £50, but actually you need more, a higher budget to compete. Now, Google can be slow sometimes, I would say, to say whether a campaign is constrained or not. So rather than just looking at the campaign status column and waiting for it to tell you that it's constrained, also have a look for yourself. So perhaps look at how much you spent the day before. If you have a budget set at £50 and yesterday it spent £49, you could maybe think, okay, well, I was very, very close to my daily budget. Perhaps there is maneuverability where I do need more. So have a look into campaigns that are restricted by budget, and where possible, increase that. Now, the next slide follows on from that. So, like I said, in an ideal world, you would have more budget to put into the campaign, and that would be great. However, sometimes your budget is your budget and you don't have any more to pump into it. But what you can do is you can move the budget around, or you can focus on more poorer performing campaigns. So if budget is limited, is it being spent in the most efficient campaigns? So poor performing campaigns, it may be that a decision has to be made that these need to be paused, or maybe the keywords within those campaigns need to be addressed, and you need to find out, okay, is there a way for me to lower the spend in some of these poorer performing campaigns? One thing I would say is keep in mind attribution that I mentioned before. There may be more generic campaigns that you've created that are more targeted towards the top of the funnel, which on the face of things may look like they're not performing as well. But that could be performance in the sense of cost per conversion. So you do need to take a bit of a holistic view of it as well. However, like I said, sometimes your budget is your budget. So you do want to make sure that you are weighting your budget to your goals and where your better cost per conversions or traffic may lie. And then another thing to consider about budget allocation is your budget achieving your goals. So with this one, we would really say if you're in a very competitive sector, you will need a very competitive budget. So you can't expect to be in a competitive sector with really high CPCs and have a low budget. It just wouldn't work. If you have a cost per click in the £10 realm and you have a £50 daily budget, simple maths, what you're saying to Google there is actually I can get 5 clicks, which, you know, it will probably not help you achieve your goals. So you do need to be realistic when it comes to your budget, how much your cost per click is and what your overall goals are. Okay, and the other thing to look at are your bidding strategies. So are you bidding efficiently and making the most of your budget? So this can go back into helping what we were just talking about, making your budget go further. So you can optimize your spend and your bids through automation. Automation isn't the devil. When it first came out, a lot of people were very wary of it and thought, okay, well, we're giving Google too much control. So automation is when you set certain criteria and you allow Google to make certain decisions. Now, we have actually seen ourselves, sometimes automation can actually work, because rather than setting a manual bid, you're saying to Google, you go away and set my bid as long as I can achieve a certain impression share, or I can achieve a certain cost per acquisition. Now, with automation, you do need some history in the account. So it's probably, well, it wouldn't be the first point of call when an account goes live. You would want to do it manually at the beginning. But once Google has had time to build up data, get some clicks, cost, impression information, some conversion information, then automation is probably something that you would want to look at and you would want to test. If you are doing manual bidding, again, that's absolutely fine. And it probably is your first point of call when campaigns first go live or new keywords go live. Just make sure that you are making adjustments or you are looking at data based on the schedules. So that would be time of day, day of week. Also devices. So how are you doing based on mobiles versus computer, desktops, things like that. You can also overlay audiences within to the account, and that probably hinders more on maybe intermediate or advanced techniques. So again, if that's something that interests you, let us know and we can touch on audiences a bit more in a future webinar. And also different locations and demographics. So what you really want to do is look at the data for those areas, and you can manipulate your bid based on these factors. So if you see that, okay, computers get me clicks, but they don't actually drive as many conversions, but I still want to be appearing on them and I still want to be driving traffic to them, maybe it's worth me lowering my bid on these devices. And also look at any keywords that are below first page bid. So again, this is something that Google can tell you. You can do a filter within your keyword tab on any keywords that are below first page bid, and you can ask Google to bring all those ones up to you so you can see which keywords you may not be bidding high enough for. There may be certain ones where you think, well, actually, I am bidding quite high and I'm not willing to bid any higher. In which case you may want to make a decision, well, is it worth me actually pausing these so they don't affect my quality score, or do I want to make that decision that maybe I do want to bid a bit higher? Also check your targeting. So I did just mention it. Are you finding the right users? So when you're looking at your data, check which locations are working best for you. If you are quite a location-based business, you may find that a certain radius around your stores or where you can offer your service tend to perform better because your users are picking up on that. In which case you may say something similar to what I said before. I still want to target a larger market, but actually I'm willing to bid slightly higher for these certain locations. And you can also check which audiences are working best as well. So if you can see there are certain audiences where you're getting good conversion rates, then again, you can bid higher for those. Or if you see it the other way around, where certain audiences aren't actually doing as well, you can bid lower for them. And also assess the level of irrelevant searches. Do you need to review your keywords? So going back to your search term report, maybe if you feel as though you're getting a lot of keywords that you're having to add in as negative keywords, is there a keyword somewhere within the account that actually may be a bit too broad, maybe a bit too vague? And you may say, actually, this isn't the best keyword that I should have in the account in the first place, or maybe you want to change the match type on those. Okay, another one that you want to keep an eye out for are keywords that have a high number of impressions and low clicks. So just a reminder, impressions are how many times your ad is actually shown based on clicks, which is when a user actually goes ahead and clicks on your ad. So ensure you are reviewing poor click-through rate keywords. So if a keyword has a high number of impressions and low clicks, hand in hand will come a low click-through rate. And the reason you don't want to keep or you don't want to leave these keywords or ads with a low click-through rate is they really do affect your relevance, which then has a knock-on effect to your quality score, which then has a knock-on effect to your costs and your competitiveness against your competitors. So when you do see a low CTR, a low click-through rate, it can indicate a lack of relevance, but also some things to bear in mind. So one thing you want to do is check if search partners are enabled. Now, search partners are websites or search engines outside of standard Google, but they are powered by Google. So you have the option for your ads to show on these search partners. They can work, sometimes they can't work, but the great thing within Google Ads is you can filter out, so you can segment and see, okay, how is my search partners doing compared to my Google search? And what we find a lot is that these search partners tend to have a lower click-through rate, and when it comes to quality score and relevancy, that's okay. Google recognizes when low click-through rates are coming from search partners, and you won't be penalized for that. So one of the first things we always do with an account, if it does have a low click-through rate, before we start digging too deep, we take a step back and check, okay, where is the low click-through rate coming from? If Google search is fine, then you don't have to panic as much. However, if Google search and search partners are very low, then that indicates that you do need to have a look into where that is coming from. You can run ad tests. So if you look at your keyword and ad copy combination and you think, you know, this is okay, maybe run some tests on your ads to see, okay, how can I improve this? Maybe change the call to action. Something that we find quite often is sometimes if you make an ad less wordy, that can really help as well. So although you have your character limits, don't feel as though you have to use all that character limit. Sometimes by giving a user too much information, when they glance over the ads, they sort of think, whoa, and then they'll go to a different competitor instead. So just try different ads and see if you can get that click-through rate up. And also, again, check your search terms. It may be that your search terms are matching to a keyword within your account, and actually these search terms aren't relevant. So again, just going down the jobs and career route, if somebody has typed that into Google and then they see an ad about getting a quote, then you know it's not what they're looking for, they're not going to click on it. So using the search term report can really help you, especially in the first instance, to help improve your click-through rate. Okay, so I touched on it earlier, but what you also want to do is check your attribution. So if it is an account that you are taking over or an already existing account, you would want to go in and check which attribution model is being used. Or you can change this at any time within the account. So you can compare different attribution models within the account. So you can compare whether you want first click, last click, linear, where each keyword within the journey is given an equal amount. You can have position based. Again, this is touching on probably more intermediate advanced level, so we can cover this in the future if it's something you're interested in. But ultimately, you do need to check what attribution model you're using. If you are using something like first click, then there might be a lot of keywords within your account that aren't getting credit for a conversion, which may have been part of the process. So by comparing the models, it will enable you to see if keywords and ads are playing more of a role than it first appears. You can also use Google Analytics to check what's happening beyond your stats within Google Analytics. So you can actually have a look at your conversion paths, and that includes from other sources as well. So it wouldn't just be targeted to paid search. It can be via organic or direct traffic as well. And what's really interesting, you can also check path lengths. So you can see if a lot of users actually, they're coming in 4 times before they actually decide to convert. And each time they're coming from different campaigns. So that's all good information for you to know, because it will affect your overall strategy of the account and which areas that you want to focus on. Okay, and then we jump into shopping and just looking at shopping feeds in general, and when it comes to optimizing your shopping feeds. Now, sometimes a lot of this is left within Google's hands, which can be frustrating. But when it comes to shopping, apart from obviously your bids and the way the campaign is set up, one of the areas that you can focus on is the feed itself. So that
Gurpreet, can you just explain why shopping is different from text ads and the fact that why we need a feed in the first place?
Yes, so with text ads, they are predominantly the text ads that you see within Google search. Now, shopping ads are the shopping that you see at the top of the screen or on the shopping tab itself. And that is where you see a product image and you also see the price of the product, and you click through straight to that product and you can go ahead and purchase or have a look around the site, whatever you may need to do. Now, when it comes to shopping campaigns, they are set up and managed very differently. They are not based on keywords. So within search campaigns, you can say, I want this keyword to trigger my search ads. And that's brilliant because you have control over that. When it comes to shopping, instead of you saying, I want these keywords when they are typed in to trigger my shopping ads to show, you don't have that level of control. Instead, what Google does is it looks at what a user has typed into the search engine, and it will then refer to your feed. So in your feed, you'll have your titles, your descriptions, and you'll have a number of different other information. And Google will take that information and they will choose which of your products or your competitors' products that they want to show. And that is why when it comes to optimization, you actually do want to focus on your feed as well. Just like text campaigns where you would focus on your ad copy and your keywords, the equivalent of doing that within shopping campaigns is looking at your feed. So some of the things that you would want to focus on, your product titles are really important. It's probably one of the first things that Google will look at when it is trying to marry up a user search term to the product that it uses. So what you want to do is ensure the most relevant product information is contained at the start of the product. So that would be things like brand, color, size, and a model number if applicable. A lot of times we've seen a lot of product titles where the title is actually unique to the product on the website, and it has a name that the company or the website has attributed to it, where to a user it actually means nothing. It is nothing to do with the brand or the color that they are looking for. So you know, if this is relevant for you, maybe take a look at what your product titles are saying and maybe have a shift around of that and ensure the most important information is at the start. And then also you can look, if you are also running search campaigns, maybe look back at what traffic you get from certain keywords and try and incorporate those keywords within your title and description if they are relevant. So sometimes it would be a case of saying, well, you know, I would like my ad to appear for this red handbag, and you would want to make sure that those keywords are incorporated within your product title. Your image is also really important because to most users, obviously that is what is going to sell it for them. So you don't have the long text description that you do within search, you mainly have the image and the price. So you want to ensure your images are high quality and they do reflect the product. Because obviously that is a product that a user is then going to go onto the website and see and hopefully go on to buy. And also ensure your product is visible within the thumbnail. So make sure you get a capture of the full product, not just, you know, a certain section of it. So make sure it is all viewable. And within that image, don't include any text, watermarks, or logos. That is actually something Google does not allow. It doesn't look great either, from my opinion. So where possible, don't include it because eventually it probably will get disapproved if it isn't disapproved straight away. And where possible, provide as much product detail as possible. So within a shopping feed that you submit to Google, you don't have to have all the product detail attributes available. There are some that you do, so obviously you have to make sure they're available, but there are so many others that you don't have to. Where possible, we would say populate as many as you possibly can. It gives Google more information to go off, and it also helps when it comes to the filters in Google Shopping that users can use. So if you have that information available, then when a user is using those filters, then Google can, you know, use the information that you've also provided to match you up to that user. I think it goes without saying, ensure accuracy in your product data. So make sure the information within your feed that is most likely coming through from your website is accurate in what a user will see when they come to your website and when they look to purchase. Just a general note, when it comes to feeds, if you are scheduling when your feed is fetched, try and ensure that this is done probably late hours of the night when you're likely to have less users. Obviously, if your industry is slightly different, you may want to reconsider that, but that is a general good rule of thumb as well. Okay, and I think Anne may have another poll for me, if you could please, Anne. So what we'd really like to know, obviously this was aimed around some of the basic top level areas when it comes to page search, but there is so much more and we could go further in depth. So we want to know if you guys would be interested in something a bit more in depth. So if you could take a moment just to answer the poll, that'd be great.
So I'll read the answers out, questions and answers out. So would you be interested in learning more about advanced paid techniques? No, thank you. I've got all the information I need. Yes, I'm interested to hear more on Google search and text ads. Yes, I'm interested in other Google channels, shopping, display, YouTube, etc. Yes, I'm interested in being Microsoft. Yes, I'm interested in paid social optimization, Facebook and LinkedIn, etc. I would also like more information on other channels such as TikTok, display, Amazon, eBay, etc. We do realize that for some of you, we may well need to also do some setup webinars as well. So I think we probably should also do a sort of a basic and a setting up of Google Ads, as well as maybe some of the other channels as well. So we do try and have a range of different subject areas at different levels. So hopefully this has been really helpful for you. I had hoped that we'd be able to load up the slides. I'm just going to try and do that now while we're talking. And that will allow us then, so anybody can get the handout that they need. So let me see if we can do that. And then if we can go over to the questions and answers, I think there is a few questions there. So maybe I should just tell you what the answer to the polls were. That would be useful. Yeah. So at the moment, about 22% of you are definitely interested in more advanced techniques on Google and search. 35% want more information on Facebook and LinkedIn, which doesn't surprise me. It's probably our most popular course, actually. We need to get Chris and Bhakti doing a few more. And then interestingly, 15% of you are interested in other channels. This week, we actually became an eBay advertiser partner. And they've got some really interesting advertising, which you don't even have to be selling on eBay, and you can take advantage of it. So there's quite a lot of things like that that we can offer you. And then from a Q&A perspective, there's a couple of questions. Can you click on that, Gurpreet, while I try and load a handout?
Yeah. Okay.
And then you can read the question out.
Yeah, okay. So we have one to expand on attribution model and best practice for setup. Okay, so when it comes to attribution modeling, sorry, I did go on about it a little bit more within it. So attribution model that we like to go for, there's no, I would say, right or wrong. A lot of my colleagues and I, we are either linear. So linear attribution is where you would say every keyword that is part of a user's process within paid search, we want to give them an equal weighting. So within the account, what you would see is if there was keyword 1, keyword 2, and keyword 3, and keyword 3 was the one that converted, actually keyword 1, keyword 2, and keyword 3 would all have the same number of conversions. So it would take that one conversion and split it between the 3 keywords. So that's where you would see a 0.33 conversion rate on a keyword, because you would know that that has also been split between other keywords as well. So I think linear is a good one, and also position based. So I know a lot of my colleagues like to use position based as well. So that is where if there were, say, 4 keywords within the journey, keyword 1 and keyword 4 would get more of the weighting, because they were classed as at the beginning and the end of the journey where it's really important, but you would still get conversion data for the 2 keywords in the middle, but it wouldn't be weighted as high. So I hope that's helped.
Excellent. I've just noticed that Gurpreet actually, I don't know how you multitask, Gurpreet, but she's already loaded the handout. So if you haven't already got it, if you go up to the top where it says chat, Q&A, polls and handouts, if you click on there, you should be able to download the actual slides. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to send out the offers. So we have just done that wrong. I've managed to mess that up now. Can you see the offer? There it is, it's come back. Okay, so the first offer we've got for you is free access to our training materials. Now, I know most of you have already signed up, but every week we get new people, and this is the Academy portal. So if you like to hit that button, you will go over to the Academy site where you can fill in a form. We will get your information in the back office of the webinar software as well. So, please fill in the form, but if not, we will pick you up later as well. And then the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the DMI. So the DMI course is running from, I think it's the 12th of October. It's a 12-day course, 1 day a week, leading to the DMI and CIM level 4 and 5 qualifications. There is a discount for the course, and also you can go in and sign up for individual modules. And also, if you aren't able to attend the training rooms in the Leicester office, you can also attend virtually as well. So it's a sort of hybrid course. We're now doing everything as a mix of online and offline. So hopefully that will be useful for a few of you. And then finally, if you have enjoyed this webinar, or you think that there's anything else that that Anicca does that you like, we'd love you to give us a little bit of a plug. So please, if you don't mind, if you could put a review on reviews.co.uk. If somebody could just check that. I've just realised I haven't checked the link, so let's make sure that we go to the reviews. Yeah, that goes to the right place. That's good. I know that the first time I loaded that, I actually sent it to our big marker page. I haven't got the announcement for next week's webinar yet. I'm probably going to be doing something on some of our new services. We've got quite a lot of people on holiday at the moment, so we haven't actually got anything planned. But I suspect that I will fill in and do a presentation on some of the new things that we're doing. So I think that will be really useful for everybody. And if that's it, I'd like to thank Gurpreet very much. I don't think we've got any more questions, have we, Gurpreet?
There was one, but I'm just replying to it because I know we're out of time, so I'm just replying to it via the Q&A section.
Excellent. Okay. Well, look, thank you very much, everybody. Great to see you. Have a great weekend. And I'll get the... oh, thank you, Martin. That's very kind of you, that's saying how useful the webinars have been. Yeah, we've done about 25 now. We're back to the office in 2 weeks' time, but the plan is to keep going. Everybody's found them so useful. We've got loads more things to talk about, loads more members of the team that are going to do they're going to do their first webinar. And we look forward to speaking to you all soon. So thank you very much. I will now end the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gurpreet.